Maintain the secret ballot. That's what I'd like to talk about today. In Obama's State of the Union message, he spoke about how terrible it was that some people would have to wait online 4 hours to vote. And he said that we need to reform this. And he said he would appoint a bipartisan commission to study how to alleviate this problem. Well, what he means by that is he wants to expand early voting. Many states, including both Democratic and Republican states, permit early voting, where very often a third of the voters cast their vote before Election Day. And in Oregon, nobody does it on Election Day. It's 100% mail voting, M-A-I-L voting. We got rid of the other with the 19th Amendment. But the point is that this sounds like a great idea, but it is a device to cheat. It's a device to eliminate the secret ballot. Because the reason that the early voters tend Democrat, usually 2-to-1 or 3-to-1, even in Republican states like Texas or Florida, is because the Democrats use early voting to get their vote out as a machine vote. What they do is they'll go into a neighborhood and line everybody up and put them on a bus and drive them to the early voting place and sit there till they all voted, feeding them sandwiches and lunch and stuff, and then they get back on the bus and they go home. Or they'll go into a nursing home, which is likely to be Democrat, and they'll go to all of the patients, one after the other, signing them up and getting them to vote. And there really is no secret ballot when that happens. It's a method for the machine to bring out the vote. Now, in the past, we didn't have a secret ballot in the United States. In fact, when George Washington was elected to the House of Burgesses in colonial time, everybody stood up in front of the whole town and said who they were voting for. But we have had a secret ballot in the last 100 years, and it's terribly important to protect it. Years ago in the 19th century, they would have a Democratic and Republican table, and the people would be online and they'd go to one table or the other. And a big factor in which table they went to is who is standing behind it passing out whiskey bottles. But when you get to this massive early voting, you're talking about much the same thing. You're talking about the potential for bribery or lunch or dinners or whatever as a reward for voting, post-voting parties. You're talking about eliminating the secret ballot and using ostracism to get people to vote the way they're supposed to. Let me give you an example. When union elections are held, the union elections take place, whether we have a union or not, when a majority of the voters check off on cards saying, yes, I want there to be an election. And if a majority do it, then the election is held with the secret ballot. Well, that should be a no-brainer. If a majority of the voters have said, yes, I want the union, you assume on the secret ballot election a majority would say, yeah, I just told you, I want the union. But that's not what happens. 2/3 of the time, the union loses, because they're intimidated when your foreman or the guy you work with or a guy who your life may depend upon in a construction or a heavy job says, hey, I want you to check this so we can have a union. You check it. And sometimes they visit you at home and your family's there and stuff, and yeah, you check it. But then to make sure that that's not a coerced vote, there then is a secret ballot election. And as I said, 2/3 of the time it goes the other way. Well, we need a secret ballot in the United States. Now, what's the solution to people waiting for 4 hours to vote? Well, that is a problem because voter turnout, thank goodness, has increased. In 1996, you had 95 million Americans voting. This year, you had 125 million voting. 4 years ago, you had 132 million voting. So there will be longer lines. And the answer is very simple. You just have smaller voting districts and more polling places. I mean, that's a no-brainer. Instead of having 2,000 people to a polling place in a state, have 1,000 and invest in extra voting machines. What the heck difference does that make? But the Democrats are using this as an excuse to try to eliminate the secret ballot so they can march their machine vote in. Why don't Republicans do the same? Well, they don't really have a machine vote. I can't think of any constituency where, people would be in a workforce or a union or something like that, where they could be marched in to vote. And Republicans, where it's much more an act of, shall we say, free will. Thanks for watching.